I feel like this could be. I feel like this entire situation is setting up for Carson Steele to be a national treasure by the end of this game.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
Hello and welcome into That Football Show here on KC Sports Network, presented by our friends at Holiday Distillery and Ben Holiday Bottled in Bond Bourbon. I'm Tucker Franklin, joined as always by Matt Verderame. We're here talking about the Chiefs and the NFL, your football show. Shocker if you didn't tell by the title. This is your football show here at KC Sports Network. Matt, how was your weekend?
My weekend was good. My weekend was nice and relaxing. I was in New York, drove 13 hours back to Illinois on Monday, and then covered Eagles Falcons. Could have done without that.
Yeah.
But things are good. Things are good. Other than like a game here, I don't have to travel that for a while, so I'm happy. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. We're getting things rolling here at KC Sports Network, trying to get into that Sunday flow because the Chiefs play on every single day of the week besides Tuesday this year. It's hard to kind of get into a rhythm with just like content and everything like that. But we got a few Sundays here before, you know what? They'll play on Monday when the Saints come to town a little bit before the bye week. So right as we get into a rhythm, they'll play on Monday night. But that's just how things go.
It's funny that you're right. Other than Tuesday, they play every day of the week, and yet they don't play a Thursday game the rest of the year.
Yeah, it's Black Friday is technically their Thursday night game.
Yeah, it's like the Thursday game's the one game. You're like, yeah, we got to play that game. They're like, no, you don't.
Yeah,
it's over. Okay, I mean, fine. I'm not complaining about it.
Yeah,
but it's just a weird. And then at the end of the year, they're like, "How about a Wednesday? How about Friday? How about?" It's like, okay, that's great. Thanks, everybody.
I am trying to find my way to that Black Friday game against the Raiders. I'm going to try to find my way to that game. So
I might cover that game. Like I've thought about telling SI, like, listen, I want to cover that game.
There you go,
and just see. Like, if there's ever a game the Chiefs are going to come out like, okay, here it comes. I know they play the Raiders before that in Vegas.
Right.
But Arrowhead is going to be out for blood in that game. And it's on national TV. And it feels like the kind of game where if they can rub it in as much as humanly possible, they're going to do it. So I just want to be there for like the post game. I feel like there's a chance. There's like a 30% chance there's a fight at the midfield stripe.
That'd be awesome. I haven't seen one of those in a while. We need
a fighter, Andy or Antonio.
Antonio might be a little bit more spry, but I feel like Andy...
I got him. But if Andy ever won the fight, it's like one of the greatest highlights of history.
It's like I feel like Andy's like the old kung fu master, right? Who like knows like to use the other momentum, like knows to use Antonio Pierce's momentum against him to take him down.
That's when the Chiefs are missing Eric Bieniemy. Because I would take Eric Bieniemy against any human being alive.
He's not getting a whole lot of use at UCLA, I'll tell you that much. That offense is not good.
No, but I've seen Eric Bieniemy up close in person. I got to tell you, there are very few people that I could think of in my life that I'm like, I'd rather take a punch from this person. Like I feel like Eric Bieniemy probably do damage based on the size of that man. But yes, things UCLA not great.
Things that don't have a pretty great as the Chiefs beat the Cincinnati Bengals. Again, another close finish for the Chiefs. Look, it's something that we come to expect with this team, and they know how to finish games when they matter. I know a lot of people were crying about all the officiating things like that. We're not going to dive into all that, right? Because you've heard it all. It's already Thursday. You've heard all of it. Right. But Matt, general takeaways from that game as we head into Week 3 on the road against the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start by just saying, for anyone else to hear this, it was penalty.
Blatantly.
You're not allowed to run a guy over. The next person that tweets me is like, he was playing the ball. Like, that's nice. Like, you're not allowed to play the ball by running someone over. Okay, that's like if in basketball, you're just over the guy's back and like land on him, and then you're like, well, what the hell? I was going for the basketball. Like, okay, I mean, that's great. You can go for the basketball you want. It's still a foul. Listen, I mean, I thought defensively they were all right in the game. You know, obviously the Chiefs made some huge plays on defense. Jamari Conner with the touchdown, Jamari Conner with the sack, McDuffie breaking up a pass in the end zone that led to a field goal. like, I thought defensively, they held them in that game.
Yeah.
And they gave the offense chances to win it. And then the offense, with the help of that penalty, finally did. I thought the offense was horrific for the most part. Now, they ran the ball well.
Oh, yeah.
Mahomes was brutal in that game. I mean, a horrible pick early. The pick that Taylor Britt had, I mean, I'll give him credit. It was an unbelievable play. Mm-hmm. But it's also like, why are you throwing that ball?
Right.
And if you're going to throw it 10 yards out in front of him. And it's one of those where either Worthy puts on the afterburners and he gets there, or nobody gets there, and fine. Mahomes was not good. Kingsley Suamataia was basically me at left tackle. I mean, I don't know. I look, and for the record, and we're recording this here on Thursday morning, we don't know who's going to start at left tackle. I would start him again at left tackle.
Yeah.
I don't think pulling the plug on him does any damn good. Like, what does that do? It just tells him that he's not good, and and you don't believe in him, and then his confidence is shot. You have to play him again. And then look, if he goes out there and he's atrocious in the first half, you yank him out of the game. But like, I think you have to at least start him again. But look, he was not good. I will give like a small silver lining to this though. I actually think Juwan Taylor quietly's played really well the first 2 weeks of the year.
He has, yeah.
Like, everybody keeps talking naturally, their tackles are terrible. The right tackle's not been terrible. The right tackle's been pretty damn good, actually, if you watch the games. So I think he's been fine. Rice has had 2 great games.
Yep.
The Kelsey thing is kind of like, it bears watching a little bit right now. Like, I'm not really worried about it, but he's got 4 catches, 39 yards. Right. Like, it's not great. So I think overall, listen, they're 2-0. They've beaten 2 of the biggest competitors you would think they have in the AFC. The injury situation is worrisome. Although Pacheco achieved 6 to 8 weeks, that could have been a hell of a lot worse.
I agree.
So, and by the way, I think that, and we're going to get to Kareem Hunt later, but I think overall, you've got Steele, you've got Hunt, you've got P. Ryan. Like, they'll survive it. Like, I'm not that worried about that. I think they'll be okay. But yeah, overall, I mean, they're 2-0, and they got a bunch to clean up, but that's fine. Like, every team has a bunch of stuff to clean up. It's great. I mean, that's just the way it is.
It is, and you're right. And I think that a lot of the things coming from this game, it's a positive that they won it, like that they were able to win their clunker. I think Jeff Schwartz said that on our post-game show. It's a saying, it's a phrase that's used a lot in college football, but win your clunkers. And look, the Chiefs have gotten used to winning ugly, right? Like, last season was a very ugly win season, and there were some ugly games that they didn't win too. So they're used to that, and I think that, like, anytime they face an AFC contender, Matt, you and I were kind of talking about before we started recording the podcast, it seemed like they were playing stuff a little close to the vest there, keeping them stuff close to the vest against both of these contenders because they know they'll see them further down the road.
Yeah, I mean, and they've done that for years. They play these teams in the regular season. They just don't. And go ask the Bills, so that's gone over the years.
Right.
With the Chiefs going through these games, and they're like, okay, we can win, great, but like, we're not going to show you our A+ game plan. We're just not going to do it. And then they get in the playoffs, and here it is, and they win. Mm-hmm. I mean, I will say, part of that game being what it was the Chiefs had 3 turnovers and just played like dogs offensively for 4 straight quarters and couldn't execute anything. They're 1 of 8 on 3rd down. The Chiefs had more 4th down conversions and 3rd down conversions.
Wow.
Yep. I mean, that's how bad that game. And they won. They scored 26 points and won. I mean, right now, if you sit there and you look at the analytics and you look at all the underlying numbers, like, their underlying numbers say the Chiefs have not been good the first 2 weeks of the year. But I would also counter that with, I thought they were actually very good week 1. And then week 2, I just thought they didn't play well. And like, if you have a bad game, it's going to show up. They're 2-0. They're 2-0. Who in 2 weeks to this point are you like, those teams have had better wins than the Chiefs? Nobody.
No, nobody.
So if you're Kansas City, you're like, yeah, we don't care. It's like the old Stephen A. Smith. We don't.
We do not care.
We do not care. I mean, if you're the Chiefs, you're sitting there going 2-0. Pacheco's going to be back, so that's a huge bullet dodge.
Yep.
We'll see with Hollywood. They hope he'll be back late in the year. It's uncertain. And then you go from there. But I think for the Chiefs, like, you're 2-0, and then you've got the Bengals and the Ravens who are both 0-2 because those teams managed to lose to the Pats and the Raiders, respectively, at home. You have the Dolphins who, look, it sucks, but Tua's hurt, so they are going to be in a rough spot here. The Titans are 0-2. The Jags are 0-2. The Colts are 0-2.
Yeah.
Like, you're the Chiefs. I mean, of course, we know Denver, of course, is 0-2.
Right.
But, like, if you're the Chiefs, you feel pretty good. Sure, you're like we're in pretty good shape. So yeah, I think overall I should be pretty happy.
I think so too. And going into week 3 here, as you mentioned, the injuries, they are a problem. The injuries are kind of mounting a little bit when you talk about the Hollywood Brown injury. Nate Taylor pushed back on the report that Adam Schefter put out that he'd be back for Schefter said he'd be out for the whole season. Doesn't expect him back the whole season. Nate said that he heard that he'll probably be back closer to playoff time.
I'm told by a team source that they are hopeful that he will be back toward the end of the year.
Yeah,
that they didn't want to put a strict timeline on it, and this is pre-surgery, I might add, but they were hopeful that he would be back toward I think the exact quote was the latter part of the season. So
there you
go. By no means are the Chiefs thinking that he's out for the year. Might be. Rehab doesn't go well, whatever. But they definitely are of the mindset that they may get him back late the season. Chiefs get him back late in the year. I mean, look, privately, they don't care. They'd be like, that's great. Want to come back for Christmas? Work yourself in the shade for a few weeks? They don't need him to be Denver.
Correct.
They don't. It was like when they had Sammy Watkins for years, and they basically Sammy, just take a month off. It's just, they don't need these guys to win in October. They don't. And if they lose a game over the course of the year because they don't have it, fine. That's how they look at it.
Yeah, I think that. Look at that one. You look at the Pacheco one. 6 to 8 weeks seems to be the timeline that's been put on his injury. Both of those surgeries, by the way, successful in their attempts to do surgery. Surgery was good. Went well for both of those guys. But they do sign Kareem Hunt in the absence of Isaiah Pacheco. And Matt, this is one thing that I didn't think was going to happen. And I think that if I had actually tweeted out the morning that it was reported that he was visiting, that I don't know who needs to hear this, but the Chiefs aren't signing Kareem Hunt, I could have tweeted that out, Matt, for the last 6 years, and I would have been right. And I just happened to tweet it out the same day that they bring him in for a visit. And talking to people around the team, it really had to be this situation for him to even think about it and entertain him to come in.
Yeah. Look, you know what? I've learned my lesson over the years. I remember when, this is before I had any sources in the leagues, way before any of that. There was I think Florio reported they might trade Marcus Peters.
Yeah.
And I then tweeted out something, and it was completely an opinion, but it was, right. I tweeted out, they're not going to trade Marcus Peters. They're going to make him the highest paid corner in football. The guy's a turnover machine. It's a ridiculous report. He got traded now or later. It was like a story on Outkick, embedding the tweet.
Yeah.
Chiefs PR was annoyed about it. And I'm like, the hell do you guys care? But so I learned my lesson with that. So listen, the Kareem Hunt signing, I'm with you though, very surprising. I did not think they would do this, but I'm going to attack this from a football standpoint. He's more talented than anybody else could have signed. And I get it. You can sit there and be, last year he averaged 3 yards a carry. Here are the rest of his years in his career. 4.9, 4.6, 4.2, 4.2, 4.9, 3.8. If he has any of those averages for the Chiefs, that is a huge win.
Right.
He's coming in and he's starting out in the practice squad. There are really no expectations here. He's going to come in, he's going to play a role, and a small one at that. The other thing I like about Kareem Hunt, he catches football.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of receptions over the course of his year. He played with Mahomes. I think if you're the Chiefs, what is the downside to this? Now, granted, I was with you that they wouldn't sign him in the sense that just the way it all happened and ended. I just figured Clark Hunt's not going to want him back,
right? And
they're not going to go. Brett Beach isn't going to go calling in a favor to bring in Kareem Hunt. But at the same point, from a football perspective, I get it. He's better than Boston Scott. He's better than Jerick McKinnon at this age. If you're the Chiefs, look, it would be genuinely hilarious if he comes in and turns out he just has a turn back the clock thing and he's just fantastic. And it's just all right, we're going to elevate him, and he goes out and has 150 yards rushing against Cleveland later in the year. I think he's going to be a big player for them, but at the same point, the upside is a lot higher than it would have been with anybody else, in my opinion.
So when the report came out that Isaiah Pacheco fractured his fibula, I had tweeted out the list from Spot Track of the available players, and it was Boston Scott, Damian Harris, who I think is actually officially retired, Matt Breida, Kareem Hunt, Latavius Murray, Jerick McKinnon, Marlon Mack, Len Bowden, and Eno Benjamin.
Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, that looking at it, it makes a lot of sense. Kareem Hunt is the most talented guy on that list of players. He also is not by far the youngest. He's like the third youngest behind Len Bowden and Eno Benjamin. But if you're 26 and don't have a team, probably a reason. If you're 26 and don't have a team.
And Bowden was like a receiver.
Yeah, so like they used him all over. Like at Kentucky, he had so many all-purpose yards. I remember he was so good at Kentucky, and he just kind of never really settled into a role. I think with an NFL team. Yeah. But he was fun in college at Kentucky. But I do think the Kareem Hunt signing, look, what happened was 6-7 years ago at this point. I thought that Andy Reid said that he really seemed like he'd grown up. He obviously kept in contact with Patrick Mahomes. They had a relationship. I didn't realize that Andy Reid said this at his podium on Wednesday that Kareem Hunt was at Patrick Mahomes' wedding. I didn't realize that. That they had been that close and that they kept in contact ever since all the incidents happened. But we know that Andy Reid is a guy that loves to give people second chances. That is something about Andy Reid. And look, you alluded to it, the way that it all went down in Kansas City. The big thing is he lied to Andy, to everyone involved. That's the big thing that happened. And, time heals everything, apparently, because now Kareem Hunt back in Kansas City on the practice squad. We'll see if he has any sort of impact against the Falcons. I doubt it. Andy Reid left the door open, but I really do doubt. Maybe if he's like, hey, you just want to throw your body in front of Matthew Judon for a little bit, we can throw you out there if you want. But they did elevate, or I think they signed I think they signed Keontae Ingram to the active roster too as well. So your running backs coming into this game are Keontae Ingram and Carson Steele with a potential game day call-up of Kareem Hunt. Matt, I don't know if that makes you feel any better about the running back room heading into this game against the Falcons, but definitely don't. They definitely don't have the star-studded running back.
I feel like this entire situation is setting up for Carson Steele to be a national treasure by the end of this game.
Well, I mean, I'd be down for it.
I feel like did anyone else watch Saquon Barkley rush for like 19 yards a clip against Atlanta? Yeah. I understand that Saquon Barkley and Carson Steele are two very different people. I also understand what I saw, and I saw Atlanta getting blown 7 yards off the line of scrimmage repeatedly. The Chiefs' interior offensive line can do that.
They're pretty good.
Like and I say whatever you want about Joe Mate, you can run block.
He can.
Like, I could definitely see a world in this game where like Mike Tirico's like Carson Steele, like it's 120 yards.
Inflatable crocodiles in the crowd.
Yeah, you could definitely see a world here where like you turn on the TV Monday morning and Crocky J is leading Good Morning Football because he went berserk in this game. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. I really wouldn't be. So I think he's going to get the bulk of their carries, and they'll mix P right in there and whatnot. But yeah, I think they will be okay. I really do. I think the Pacheco loss sucks, but they'll get him back, or they're supposed to get him back, and I think they'll be okay and they'll hold it down until then.
This might be my only new age football. I feel like I'm pretty traditional, pretty old school when it comes to my football philosophies, right? I love running the football. I love just getting physical. I love
Rutgers football.
Love Rutgers football. I love Big Ten football, right? Like
House Rock. We're gonna run duo, damn it.
That's my philosophy. I love that. Play action passes. I love that. That gets me going. But maybe my only new age like football take is, and it's been kind of oversimplified, I think, is, you see the analytics people say running backs don't matter. And I think that's an oversimplification of this, but I do think that when it's blocked up well, when it's schemed up well, when the offensive line is doing their job, I don't know if it really matters all that much who's toting the rock if it's blocked and schemed up well.
I think it matters in the sense of like, I think every running back gets a certain amount of yards, and then I think the really good running backs.
I think that's fair. I do think that's very fair. If you look at Isaiah Pacheco, Matty Lane made this point too. Like, he is very good at getting what is blocked up, but like he doesn't get. If you look at like his missed tackle percentage, right, or like any of those advanced, he doesn't like make guys miss.
Well, like Jamal Charles was amazing at that. Jamal Charles,
Correct.
the guy in the hole miss, and then just blow past the linebacker, and all of a sudden a 4-yard run is 20.
Right.
Or in some cases with Jamal Charles 80. No, I mean it'd be interesting. I am curious. As long as still holds on to the ball, I think it'll be fine.
I agree.
But yeah, I am with you though. Like I do love a good just like, hey, look, like I'd love to see the Chiefs in this game. Big listen.
40 rushing attempts.
Fuck all this noise. Like we're putting a pro set backfield in there.
Yeah.
With Pirine and Steele, and we're just gonna pound this sucker between the tackles. Like I never understand when teams, and the Eagles did this actually on Monday night. You're running the ball on a drive for literally 7 yards a clip. Like you're just pounding this team. Put yourself in the mind, in this case, of a Falcons defender. The last thing you want to see is Saquon Barkley getting the ball, right? Like anything else, please. I don't care. Anything. And it's 3rd and 3 at the end of the game, and Barkley's ripping off ungodly chunks of yardage, and you're like, listen, we could just run the ball here for 9 feet and win the game and it's over. Or we can leak out our running back to catch a pass. And like, I understand he was wide open and should have caught the ball. Everyone agrees with this.
Yeah.
However, that's why you don't throw the ball sometimes. Like drops happen. You're not throwing it to Devontae Smith or A.J. Brown. You're throwing it to a running back.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're Philly, if you gain 2 yards, it's basically a first down. You can just sneak the damn thing with the tush push and win the game. If the Chiefs run the ball anywhere close to how Philly ran it, they better not stop running it. Mm-hmm. That was the one play I lost my mind against the Bengals. When the Chiefs had that 2-point conversion after the scoop and score.
Yep.
And they threw the ball. And I'm like, you know what? I get the Chiefs short yardage is a disaster. If you can't run the ball in, based on the way you run the ball, like, go home, man. If you can't run for 6 feet, I think the Chiefs, if you're going to run the ball, then just pound them. Absolutely pound them. Don't let up. Rush for 200 yards.
I know it almost seems sacrilegious with Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback to tell your team to like not throw the football, but like, boy, the Falcons D line and back and like the front seven's not good.
It's not good, man. I would run at them all game if they have success early. Yeah. Also, by the way, the Falcons play a ton of zone.
Yes.
And they play a ton of one high safety. This might be a game where Xavier Worthy, where they go like big boy, 60 yards down the field in this game. Just so everyone knows, and you probably know this, I would have met. AJ Terrell, number 1 corner on the Falcons, good player. Yeah. He's good corner.
Yeah.
You know who the number 2 corner is?
I don't think I can tell you.
Mike Hughes. Okay. If I get Xavier Worthy on Mike Hughes with no help, if I'm Mahomes, I'm just screaming 9 route at the line of scrimmage and just snapping the plane. If I'm them, I mean, you look at their defense, and not to harp on this too much, but like they are playing Atlanta next week or this weekday. So if you look at the defense, yeah, they're starting. So D. Alford is in the nickel spot. You can attack him. AJ Terrell, great corner. They've got Bates and Simmons at safety, really good safety.
Good, yeah, they're good. Mm-hmm.
They have Mike Hughes. Mike Hughes is one of the starting outside corners. Okay? And their front seven is, I would put it this, it is underwhelming. Matthew Judon is great. Grady Jarrett is a great player in terms of the course of his career.
He's aging.
He's elderly. He had 1.5 sacks last year. He does have 1.5 sacks already this year, so kudos to him there. But like, I would expect that the Chiefs can handle them inside.
Yeah.
And then their linebackers are Troy Anderson, Caden Ellis, and Lorenzo Carter. Like, if you're the Chiefs, this should be a Kelsey game, and this could be hey, Xavier, if you happen to see yourself lined up against a guy that has 21 Hughes on the back of his jersey, run as fast as you can in a straight line, bud. That's it. I mean, I expect that the Chiefs are going to move the ball in this game.
I think so too. It's one of those unload the clip games of like, oh yeah, you guys forgot. Like, you guys are talking about, like, the Chiefs offense not being able to have any firepower, any gusto, can't put up any points. You forgot. Very reminiscent of the, oh gosh, what year would this have been? Was it 22 against San Francisco after the bye week? Was that 22?
Yeah, 2022.
And where we're like, man, I don't know how this offense is going to do. Like, this offense kind of looks a little tough. Patrick Mahomes hasn't played very good these first few weeks. Boom, they put up so many points in Christian McCaffrey's first game for the 49ers. They just embarrassed them.
To that point, because that game was, I'll always remember that game. That game was hilarious.
Yes.
To that point, so that was right before their bye week. It was week 7.
Before the bye, okay.
4-2, they're coming off a loss at home to Buffalo.
Yes.
The stat line for that game is, so the Chiefs gained 529 yards that day on 9.1 yards per play. It was insane.
Yeah.
And they had 2 turnovers and 8 penalties for 84 yards. Like, they could have done even more.
Uh-huh.
It was a ridiculous game. Mahomes threw for 423 yards on 12.4 yards per attempt. They ran for $112. And here's the kicker for all this. They had 2 guys go over 100 yards receiving in that game. Want to take a stab at who they were?
Well, probably Travis Kelce. I'll say no Travis Kelce.
98 yards.
98 yards. So it's 2022. Oh, gosh. I don't know. I don't know if I can.
Juju had 7 catches for $124.
That's true. I remember
MVS had 3 catches for $111.
How many tutties? No tutties?
None for MVS, 1 for Schuster. And that was also the game, if you may remember, Hardman had 3 touchdowns.
That's right, yes.
He ran for 2, and it was insane. Yes, it does happen. It does. By the way, there was an appearance in that game nobody really remembers, and I'm pretty sure it's the first time he ever played. The Niners were getting beat so bad they brought in their backup quarterback. It's Brock Purdy, who went 4 of 9 with a pick.
Yeah. Wow.
Brock Purdy.
Little did we know.
Living the dream.
Was that still Garoppolo at that point?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Frank Clark sacked him for a safety and like danced on top of him, basically.
That's right.
that
game.
Was an 8 football game.
Yeah.
I always think about that game and the 2 regular season games against the Bucs.
Yeah.
The one where Hill had 300 yards, and then the other one where they just ran the ball down their throat for like 200 plus.
It's so funny because, too, they're like, yeah, everyone's playing cover 2 against this team. We'll just man up and play cover 1 against Tyreek Hill. And it's like Patrick Mahomes is like, are you guys sure? Like, okay, I guess we'll just... What did Hill have? He had like 100 and... He had almost 200 at the half, right? Like,
well, no, he had over 200 yards in the first quarter. Like, it was... I've always said that was the worst thing that happened to them in terms of the Super Bowl that year. Because can you imagine if they had gone to that game with that plan in the Super Bowl? Like, the worst thing that ever happened was the Chiefs just showed it to them. Bad game.
Yeah.
Like, Hill had 13 catches for 269 yards and 3 touchdowns. Mahomes threw for 462. And I don't know why I remember this. Hardman dropped the ball that would have been a 90-yard touchdown. Like, it was the easiest touchdown of all time. Like, they annihilated them. They gained 543 yards in that game and dropped a 90-yard touchdown pass. And also took 10 penalties.
Unreal.
They were 0 for 3 in the red zone in that game. Like, how did they get 543 yards in the red zone? That's why it was only 27-24.
Yeah. Yeah, I do remember that game actually ended up being pretty close. That team was ridiculous. All of this to say that the Chiefs do unload the clip against random NFC teams, and if it's not this Falcons team, it might be, which Matt and we talked about this before started recording, it might be the Saints game of Monday Night Football. It's like either keep your eye out for just the random unloading of the offense, either this week or, I don't know.
I feel like we might get the unloading of the clip with the defense in the Saints game.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, okay, like Derek Carr, you want to run motion? That's great. Guess what? Here it comes. Engage me. I feel like they're just going to heat him up. It's going to be like when you like put like a popcorn bag in the microwave for 20 minutes.
Yep.
And there's nothing left. I feel like Spagnuolo is going to be, that's great. That's cool. All these motions. Here it comes. Stop this. Yeah, I feel like we might get a tandem offense defense in the NFC the next 3 weeks.
I can't wait for this to be a 15-13 game now. No touchdown scored.
And nobody scores.
Yeah, nobody scores. That's good. That's our fate. But all right, let's take a break. After the break, we're going to get with Benny and get his picks for this week presented by Underdog Fantasy. Go check them out. Obviously, go download the app. Use the code KCSN. Would really help us out. But we're going to take a break. On the other side, we'll be back talking broad NFL. We're talking all teams, and we got some teams to put to bed as well. So we'll talk to you right after that.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
You know when you discover a new binge-worthy show or a song that you bump on repeat and you have to share it with your friends so they can experience just how awesome it is? That's kind of what it feels like when you discover Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. That's such an awesome deal, there's no way you can keep it to yourself. Friends don't let friends overpay for wireless. Say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plan and switch to Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you and your squad with premium wireless plans starting at $15 a month. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all of your existing contacts. Ditch overpriced wireless with Mint Mobile's deal and get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/KCSNTFS. That's mintmobile.com/KCSNTFS. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/KCSNTFS. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. Fellas, it's the best time of year. Football is back, and we're talking NFL Sundays, college football Saturdays, and that glorious grind of fantasy football lineups. This is where you can take your inner GM and bring it to life by setting that perfect fantasy roster, screaming at the TV, and making last-minute waiver moves that either make you a hero or the guy everyone makes fun of in the group chat. But listen, while you're over here making sure your fantasy team is dialed in, don't let your personal grooming become the guy that gets left on the bench. And let's be honest, fellas, nobody wants to fumble their grooming routine. That's where Manscaped's Performance Package 5.0 comes in, acting as your all-in-one grooming playbook. From keeping things sharp below the waist with the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, to taking care of those rogue nose and ear hairs with the Weed Whacker 2.0. Join the over 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get ready for kickoff by heading over to manscaped.com. Use the code KCSports for 20% off plus free shipping. Trust me, you'll be drafting the real MVP of grooming this season. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code KCSports at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with code KCSports at manscaped.com. Stay on top of your grooming game and be ready for anything the season throws your way. Benny, appreciate you joining us today on That Football Show. Really looking forward to your picks for this week of NFL action. Loaded week of NFL action. Benny, also glad that Matt could be with us as we start your picks. But Benny, how are things going? How was your last week?
Things are going well. It's always good to see the two of you and for the three of us to all be together. Last week was it was a little bit rough. We had a huge it was a huge underdog week. I'll say that in more ways than one, with of course our partnership with Underdog Fantasy. 1 and 2 on our picks last week, Tuck, but I have a feeling now that the triumvirate is all together for the segment that we will be back on the right side of things this week.
It's a great call. I think that's all we need is all three of us here. Matt's going to bring the good juju for this week's picks. But Benny, go ahead, kick us off with what you're looking at for this week at Underdog.
Okay, so let's start with the local squad, Kansas City Chiefs. We know that there is a running back issue. So one way to be able to combat that is for the quarterback to extend plays with his feet. Mentioned this a couple weeks ago when I was talking with you, Tuck, that I expected Patrick Mahomes to run a little bit more. It didn't happen in week 1, but it didn't happen in week 2 against Cincinnati. So I like Mahomes to go higher than 4 rushing attempts on the road on Sunday Night Football at Atlanta on the turf there. Between the lack of available running backs in Kansas City, you got some inconsistencies right now on the offensive line for the Chiefs. And also, Atlanta's got a pretty solid pass rush so far this season. Mentioned that Mahomes got back on track with his ability to extend plays, 29 yards on 4 carries against the Bengals. So I don't think this is a number that goes way higher, but I do think he'll need to be able to extend some plays, especially with some pressure from Grady Jarrett coming up the middle of the field. So give me the higher number on 4 rushing attempts for Pat Mahomes this week in week 3 against Atlanta.
Thoughts on that, Matt?
Yeah, it makes sense. Look, they couldn't throw the ball at all against Cincinnati outside of one deep ball to Rashee Rice for 44 yards. So, I mean, if you're Mahomes, especially in a game where, if things break down, like Atlanta does not have great linebackers, there might be a world here where he can take off and there's room to roam. If a guy busts an assignment or flat out, frankly, doesn't have the speed, not that the guy can't outrun Mahomes, but if Mahomes feels he can get the corner and pick up a first down or something like that because maybe a linebacker's vacated his gap a little bit. So, yeah, I think if you're the Chiefs, this is one of those games where I do expect them to move the ball in this game. I do think they'll be successful doing it. And I think Mahomes typically in games where he feels like there's opportunities for him to take off, it's not unlikely, or it's not unlike him to see 5 or 6 carries, something like that, which obviously would be which would be higher than the number.
I like it. Let's move on to your next one because we're building our pick card here. Benny, what do you got as well with Patrick Mahomes?
All right, so we mentioned Pat Mahomes. Let's go ahead and add a wide receiver to the mix, but we're going to add him into the mix with rushing yards, and that is Tank Dell of the Houston Texans. Small number here, boys. Higher than 3.5 rushing yards on the road for the talented, speedy wide receiver against the Minnesota Vikings. I think if you look at Tank Dell collectively and look at his numbers the first 2 games relative to what we saw from him early on last year, it's fairly disappointing. But I will also say that he's been on the field for about 85% of the snaps, still getting a lot of looks. They're playing 11 personnel, so 3 wide receivers on the field. So it's him, it's Diggs, it's Nico Collins. And for a while last week against a good Bears defense, Tank Dell was actually their leading rusher, had 2 carries for 21 yards. So the Vikings defense, granted, they have looked much better than I would have anticipated this year. Brian Flores has been playing hard and playing well. But I do think there's going to be more of a focus. Obviously, it's a return to Minnesota for Stephon Diggs. Nico Collins was the main benefactor from C.J. Stroud last week against the Bears. I think there's an opportunity for Tank Dell, the way that they're using him both as a rusher and also with his speed on the outside. I don't think they're going to hesitate to try to give him the ball in space, let him gain a few big chunk plays on the ground. So 3.5 rushing yards feels far too little. I like the higher there against Minnesota.
I'll say one thing about this. Could really go either way in a big way because Minnesota loves to blitz more than anybody in football. And if they run a jet sweep and he gets thrown for a 6-yard loss, it's a problem. On the flip side, if he turns the corner, he might be gone for 80. So, I wonder, Omid, you would know better than me, Ben, but if you could even attach this to like over, or higher than 3.5 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah,
because you can see him get free and he's gone.
Yeah, and one of the nice things about Underdog is that you can move that number if you want and have a chance to extend your multiplier. So if you want to say, like, let's say, I don't have the number right in front of me, but if you think it's going to be maybe higher than 10.5 rushing yards, if that's another available option, all of a sudden it's going to go from, 2-3x if it's just 2 of them, to 6x if it's 3 of them. But if it goes up a little bit higher, now you have a chance to really add some more multipliers. Right. So I like it if you're looking to roll the dice a little bit. That's a good call.
If I know anything about Matty V, he's always ready to roll the dice. If I know anything about him,
guys.
There you go. All right, let's move on to another pick that you got in your card. Looks like you got another wide receiver.
I do. I'm going to go to Jamison Williams of the Detroit Lions. Also, another dome game. Jared Goff. You guys know Jared Goff has, I think, 13 of his 17 games in domes this year, and the dome versus outdoor splits for Jared Goff are absurd. It's worth your time checking out at some point. But I like him to go higher than 52.5 receiving yards against the Cardinals. Obviously, Arizona coming off a massive win against the Rams. They were beat up, especially with no Cooper Kupp, no Puka Nacua. But the Lions, especially with more protection for Jared Goff, and you're also dealing with a beat up Amon-Ra St. Brown. The Cardinals, despite their improvements from a year ago, still entered this year as the worst team in the NFL in DVOA versus deep passes. I just think Ben Johnson knows how to scheme up Jameson Williams. He may not get targeted a ton, but when he does get targeted, he has the ability to make those big plays happen. And he's also gone over this number in the first 2 games of the season. And I wouldn't say that those were games in which Detroit's offense looked anything spectacular. So knowing that they're going to need him, knowing that he's going to have more opportunity, more target share this week against an Arizona team that's improved, but still coming off a terrible year in guarding the deep pass, higher than 52.5 receiving yards feels like it's very much in play.
I'm going to make this really short and sweet. Can anyone name any of Arizona's corners?
Is Buda Baker still there?
He's a safety.
Okay, never mind then. No.
Okay, no. Like, I saw them in training camp, and I had 2 big takeaways from the Cardinals. They're going to score a lot of points, and they're going to have to score a lot of points. So I think Jameson Williams, good bet. He might hit that on 1 reception. I mean, they don't. The safeties are actually pretty good in Arizona. The corners are brutal. So I would expect that Williams is going to get open plenty in this football game, and I think it's going to be a very high scoring game. So you're going to have a lot of throws, a lot of chunk yardage on both sides. I think Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown are going to have a big game.
Look, Chiefs with that Sunday night game. This will be a good one to throw on at 3:25 to watch that as time passes to get to that Sunday night game. Let's wrap it up with your last one here, Benny. What do you got for us? You got a special player is what I'm seeing here.
Yeah. Who doesn't get fired up about kicker fantasy plays? Am I right? But in the case of Chris Boswell, the place kicker for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think you can actually get a little bit excited about this one. I have him going higher than 1.5 field goals versus the Chargers this week. Guys, in 2 games, Chris Boswell has gone 8 for 8 with 4 field goals of 50 yards or more. Chargers defense, we knew that they were going to take some steps in the right direction this year. Jim Harbaugh having a bit more no-nonsense. And also with their ability now to dominate in the run game, turn the ball over with better field position to their defense. The pass rushes look pretty good. And so for Justin Fields, who again is 2-0, but there's still plenty that he needs to clean up. He's missed some open receivers. He's left a lot of plays on the field on 3rd down. And knowing the confidence they have in Boswell, especially early on in the season, they're perfectly content with letting him kick from 50-plus yards out and give him that opportunity. So I think there'll be plenty of field goal attempts, and Boswell has shown his ability to make them. 1.5 feels like a very, very reasonable number in this game. So give me higher for Chris Boswell at home in the Steelers' home opener against the LA Chargers this week.
Well, yes. I mean, in the end, it is the Steelers, and so we know there are going to be 9 field goals every game.
Yeah,
that might be the safest bet of the week. That if Chris Boswell hits 40% of his attempts this week, he's going to hit the higher.
There
right?
you go.
I mean, yeah. So the Steelers have won both of their games and have 1 touchdown.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. There you go.
That is a crazy stat from the Matt Verderame stats department over there. Verderame research department. Benny, appreciate your picks. All those picks you can make on Underdog Fantasy. You can sign up with promo code KCSN to claim your free pick, plus your first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus catch. Link is in the description, or you can just go download the app, and it'll ask you for a promo code. Throw in that KCSN code. We do appreciate it. We appreciate you hanging out, and we also appreciate Benny. Thank you for joining us.
All right, fellas, be good.
Matt, let's talk some NFL. As we are 2 weeks into the NFL season, going into our 3rd week, and last week we had started a tradition that we're going to continue for as long as we need to, because look, sometimes when you know it's over before it even starts, and sometimes it starts and you're like, you know what, this might actually be over. It's time for us to lay some more teams to rest.
Yeah. We are going to start in the NFC South with the Tennessee Titans, who we need to put 6 feet under. If you didn't see the game against the Jets, low lodges, airborne, throwing the ball behind, and then Brian Callahan screaming. And I got to tell you, as we lay them into the ground, that is now the official yearbook title for the Tennessee Titans. The 2024 Tennessee Titans what the fuck are you doing? In the NFC, toward my hometown, the New York Giants, it's time to lay with Jimmy Hoffa. My brothers in Christ, Daniel Jones can't be released fast enough. But due to cap implications, they're going to have to wait a little while longer. Before the Giants can rest, we're going to see Drew Lock. We're going to see screaming, bleeding, crying in the stands. This is going to be uglier than a Sopranos episode. We have 15 more weeks of this shit. But on that football show, we're doing the decent thing. The Giants have been put to rest. So the Giants and the Titans join the Broncos and the Panthers in the 2024 NFL Cemetery here on that football show.
Yeah, Will Levis really stinks.
Jesus. Brian Callahan just screaming at him is one of the funniest things I've seen on NFL film.
It's incredible because, Matt, I feel like I could have told you how this story was going to go before it started, right? With Will Levis, because I just see the lasting images of him being stuck in the draft room right as he was falling. He's plummeting down the draft boards as people were convinced that, Will Levis is a top 5 pick. Will Levis.
Oh, my God. Remember that conversation?
He might actually be the first quarterback off the board. He wasn't. And he's out playing like he should have been the last quarter. He's playing like he should have not been on the board at all.
You know what's amazing? Like, usually guys that are that reckless, like, they rack up a lot of yardage. They're just not good. Like, James. James for a million yards, but he's just reckless as hell.
Yeah.
Will Levis is 26th in the NFL in passing yardage. Like, it's not even like you're getting these unbelievable plays that also come with this bullshit. Yeah. You're getting nothing, and then he does this bullshit.
Yep.
He has thrown for 319 yards in 2 games with 2 touchdown passes and 3 picks and a QBR of 35.7. He's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm Brian Callahan, I'm like, you know what? I'll just play Mason Rudolph because he's better than this. Yeah. Like, I don't understand. I saw so many takes from people that I actually do respect this offseason who are like, got to tell you, Titans have their guy in Will Levis. I'm like, did anyone watch Will Levis? Because I watched a decent amount of Will Levis last year. He's not good. He's not good. Like, this idea that, like, Will Levis, because he's got a big arm and drinks mayonnaise, is like this cult hero. He stinks.
Yeah.
He's the opposite of Bo Nix, but they both aren't good. Like, one guy doesn't know when to give up on a play ever, and the other one doesn't ever know how to make one. And if you could morph the 2 of them, like, you'd have a halfway decent quarterback. But, like, Will Levis, I'm not exaggerating when I say this. The 2 turnovers that we've seen this year that led to a surrender cobra and a what the fuck are you doing? Those are 2 of the worst turnovers I've ever seen in my life. Like, hilariously bad. Like, not even like, okay, I should see what he was kind of thinking there. Like, plays that the second it happens, you're like, oh my God, like, what is he doing? Yeah, he needs to sit down. It's over.
Yeah.
It's over.
It's the same broadcast when Bo Nix threw his interception in triple coverage, and you just heard the color commentators say, "Oh no!" As soon as he let it go, it's like that is it. Every time Will Levis drops back for a pass, I just think, "Oh no!" And you're right. Yeah. I do think he needs to sit down and they just need to move on.
He's terrible. And like all these people, you gotta be patient. No, I don't. He's not good. Why do I have to waste time with this? Most quarterbacks, when they come into the league, like, you get a pretty good handle on who they are after like half a season. You just do. At least I do. Like, Josh Allen is a rare exception where he really stunk early in his career and he turned to a great guy. And there's always exceptions to the rule. Rich Gannon was a guy who was nobody for like 8 years of his career that became an MVP. But for the most part, you could just kind of tell, like, this guy can play. You know what? CJ Stroud, you can tell immediately, you're like, this guy's good. This guy can play.
Yeah. Yeah.
You didn't need a year and a half of that. Like, that's always when you know the copium's running high in a fan base. Like, well, hold on. Like, he's only had 90 starts. And you're like, yeah, bro, it's over. He can't play. And I can see of all the Tennessee Titans fans that are all the time, like, he can't play. You can just start thinking about who you're going to draft next because he's not good.
I do think that Josh Allen has ruined quarterback discourse. I say that as a clickbait title, right? As to my take, right? I gotta draw people in with Josh Allen has ruined quarterback discourse because his rookie year he was not good, and then he's been like the second best quarterback in the NFL since then. So now every fan base is like, well, look what Josh Allen did his rookie year. It's false hope. He has ruined the discourse of quarterbacks that suck their first year and actually suck year two. It gives people hope for, like, well, Josh Allen sucked year one. Yeah, Josh Allen is different. He's different than all these other dudes. Yeah. That's why I think he's ruined the discourse with fans, I should say.
We just need to understand that like 95% of these guys aren't good. They're just not good. They're not good. Yeah. Now, yes, there's always, hey, listen, sometimes it's circumstance or whatever, you got to get more talent around him. But like a lot of times, like, you're just not that good. Like the rules are bent toward passing the ball and being able to do that and all stuff. If you can't do that now, you're probably not that damn good. That's it.
It's a great point. We've also seen a record low touchdowns in terms of offensive output in the NFL this year. I believe it's at 69. Nice. Touchdowns through the first 2 weeks of the season, but also not nice because this is the most probably offensive oriented rule book in the history of the NFL.
Yes.
And you are seeing less scoring, and you've got Mel Kiper Jr. out here wanting to ban a type of defense. He says,
we will not have a pass rush anymore.
He wants to play 7-on-7, plays on air only, score all the touchdowns. So, Matt, I guess just thoughts about the lack of offensive output so far in this NFL season.
It's cyclical. Like, teams catch up with stuff, you know? More defensive coordinators are saying, look, we're going to put more speed on the field. We're going to get pass rush. We're going to get corners who can cover. We don't give a damn if they can tackle and run support unless they're Trent McDuffie, in which case you can do it all. Like, they don't care about stopping the run, a lot of these guys. It's like, we're going to stop the pass. And most of these offensive coordinators are, you know, Sean McVay disciples and Andy Reid disciples. Like, we want to throw the damn ball. We don't want to run the ball. Like, I really think if Andy could run for 8 yards a clip, he still wouldn't do it because he'd be, this is boring. We're throwing the ball. A lot of guys, you know, they want to throw it. And so I do think that's a huge part of it. I think teams, it's a patience game, and more defensive coordinators now are willing to be like, look, you can move the ball all you want. You're not going to score touchdowns. And there's more creativity in blitz packages. But I just think a lot of it, too, is like, look, I'm going to maybe, I don't know if this is an unpopular take or popular take, actually. The quarterback play is not very good. It's not.
Right, yeah.
I mean, if you sit here, so my quarterback rankings, and I swear to God, I'm not trying to like cut my quarterback rankings, but I'm just using them as a thing. So over on SI, I did my QB rankings. I'm going to do them monthly this year. And I basically did them like, okay, we're factoring for the most part in like historically these guys, and then like a little bit of the first 2 weeks, because otherwise it'd be Derek Carr number one, and nobody wants that. So my top 10, I've got Mahomes 1, Allen 2, Stroud 3, Burrow 4, Lamar 5, Stafford 6, Kyler Murray 7, which fell high, but I'm going with it. Herbert 8, Purdy 9, Derek Carr 10. Like, after the first, I don't know, like Murray 7, Herbert's 8, like, let's say after the top 8, quarter of the league.
Yeah.
The next quarter, the top Purdy, Carr, Baker, Goff, Dak, Aaron Rodgers, Geno Smith, Trevor Lawrence. Outside of Rodgers, kind of a bunch of guys. Yep. And that's the top half of the league. So then you get into Ertz and Tua and Darnold and Daniels and Cousins and Minshew and Wilson and Deshaun Watson. And you're like, if you can play any kind of good pass defense, like a lot of these guys just aren't going to beat you. They're not. And I think it's a combination of all those things. But I think at some point now we are going to have to establish the run. I think we are headed back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I think we are looking at a little fullback dive here on Saturday night. See what you got coming. I'm all for the Chiefs just being like, you know what? going to run power.
Yep.
We're going to be the team that zags here. And it's the ultimate, like, what do we do? Because Mahomes is back there. It's just
I formation.
I'm in the box against duo, and here it comes. Like, I'm all for it.
And then you get the play action shot off of dive, where it's just Xavier Worthy on a 9 around here. You got guys barreling down to stop the run. Just a nice, easy pass, and then it's easy to lob over the top. Look, I would love I formation. Just go I formation, double tight, bring it on in, full back. Yeah, I tweeted out during the Chiefs game that Carson Steele runs like he has a middle bar face mask. And I think that might be one of my best tweets ever.
That's a great one. Yeah, I like that. I feel like there's an 1,000% chance that there's going to be a run in this game against Atlanta where Carson Steele absolutely bulldozes some guy at the second level. And it's going to be one of those, you're like, oh my God, like Carson Steele just put that guy in the grave 12 yards downfield. Like, it's going to be interesting. Every once in a while, they'll have games like that where they just decide to commit to the run and they just absolutely annihilate teams.
Yeah.
It's rare.
This is a note that I think Matty Lane made about Carson Steele is he tries for extra yards so much that he's like using his offhand a whole lot just because he wants to just dominate you. So that sometimes his ball security isn't as good as it should be. Right. But like in the NFL, you can't really fight for every single yard because those guys are coming for the ball. So Carson, maybe you just have to lower the shoulder and not stiff arm as much. You got to keep the second hand on top of the ball. Look, I love it though. I love that he wears 42. He's got the long locks, but just need the middle bar face mask now. That's all we need to complete the cycle. Cowboy collar.
Oh yeah, we need the neck roll.
Yeah. Like, the big old neck.
Like give me that. Like, I want Kelsey coming out in a neck roll week 3. Like, man, I remember the old days. And, like, when Brian Cox, like, the linebacker who played for the Bears and the Dolphins and the Jets, like, he had that, like, it wasn't even a collar. It was like a freaking, like, a headrest.
Uh-huh.
It came way up there. I want guys with, like, the big elbow pads, Go back to the 90s shoulder pads when safeties looked like they were 6'4", 290. Like, give me that. I'm all for it. Like, let's just go. Let's turn the damn clock back.
Oh, we're about to. I feel like we're about to. Just in terms of the way, as we talked about, cyclical in terms of how offenses and defenses go. Before you know it, we'll be forgetting that the forward pass even exists. Not an Andy Reid's watch, though. Looking at this week's slate to kind of wrap it up here, Matt, what's a game that you kind of got your eye on?
For me, that's just the easy answer. I think it's Dallas and Baltimore.
Yeah.
Like, the Ravens' next 3 games are the Cowboys, the Bills, and the Bengals. Feels like it's kind of making a break at time for Baltimore.
It's a little scary.
Early. It's getting late real early. I feel like that's like waking up and stretching before you open your eyes and somebody just punches you in the old region.
Get a Charlie horse,
Guess who? 0-2, that's who. And you're like, oh my God, like we got to go off the deck now. Like it's now for Baltimore. Like it's right now. You got to win. But like also Dallas is always hilarious because you're sitting there looking at the Cowboys and you're like, I don't know. Are they decent? Are they terrible? Like, are the Saints the Super Bowl favorites? And like, I don't know what the hell to do with the Cowboys. That game fascinates me. And then, look, it's a Monday night game and I expect Buffalo to win, but like Buffalo and Jacksonville, again, no, it's 0-2. Like, you going to do anything going to show up this year? Or like you guys good? Because 0-2 as a whole, 0-3 is like, you're probably not coming back from it. Like, just historically speaking, like you're an 0-3 team, you're not making playoffs. So I think like, I'm almost 100% sure of this. There's only one 0-4 team that ever made the playoffs. The 92 Chargers, who actually beat the Chiefs in the playoffs, because of course they did.
Right.
And 0-3, I mean, there's a few more than that, but like it's rare, man. It is only 11.5% of 0-2 teams make the playoffs. So if you're 0-3, like you're literally talking like less than like probably like a 5% chance. So we'll see. But Jacksonville, Baltimore, I mean, you want to throw Cincinnati in there against Washington, like Washington.
Yeah.
But like, gotta win, man.
Have to.
Like you have to win these games if you're those teams.
Well, you got the Monday Night Doubleheader. We talked about how like weird the NFL scheduling is because they used to do the Week 1 Monday Night Doubleheader, and then they don't do it again until like Week 17. But they're doing it like Week 3, and I think even next week might have a doubleheader as well. Like they're doing a bunch of weird stuff with the scheduling, in terms of just what they're doing on Monday night. But they got a couple of the double headers. I do think that, as you mentioned, those games are interesting. The Cowboys then next week have a Thursday night game, so they're going with the Ravens on, I believe, a 3:25 start time, Central Time, 3:05 start time, 3:25. And then they have that Thursday night game coming up, so big week for them as well. Obviously, the Chiefs.
I hope you're ready for Monday night, week 4, which is a doubleheader. I hope you're ready, because here comes Tennessee and Miami.
Are you going to have Mason Rudolph?
Again, damn it. He's going to ride against Skylar Thompson.
Hey, Snoop Huntley might come out there at that point.
Oh, my God. By the way, when the hell did he become Snoop?
I don't know, but I kind of dig it. I think it's
Tyler
cool.
Huntley like a week ago, and now it's like, man, Snoop Huntley's coming in. You're like, wait. But, yeah, it's Tennessee and Miami, and then it's Seattle at Detroit, which is the game that might save us all from Tennessee and Miami. But I'll tell you, enjoy week 3, because week 4 slate of games is something that should invoke a prison sentence for whoever came up with this. I mean, how do you feel about Cowboys and Giants on Thursday Night Football? And then those Monday night games, the only saving grace to Sunday night game, especially if you're a Chiefs fan, is fascinating. Buffalo at Baltimore.
Yeah.
Like, that's going to be interesting. And the Chiefs play, of course, at the Chargers, so you have that 4:25 game. Well, 3:25 Central. Yeah, enjoy week 3. Because week 4, other than the Sunday night game, that is a tragedy of a schedule.
Yeah, that's tough. I was looking at the area map here for the Kansas City region. If you're listening to this in Kansas City, you're going to get Chargers at Steelers on the CBS. Fox early, you'll get Eagles at Saints. And then the Fox late, you will get Baltimore at Dallas. So all games are really relevant to the Chiefs and everything that they like. That is courtesy of 506 Sports. Look, Matt, something about me, I love maps. I love looking at maps and like coverage maps especially. I love looking at these like teams of like these matchups and there's like, why does this one spot in Des Moines have San Francisco at LA? Oh yeah, Brock Purdy.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's one thing I love is just like looking at like the coverage stuff and thinking like, that's really weird why this place has this. Oh yeah, they have the Brock Purdy is from the Iowa area. So I'm weird like that. I know. Like, why does a little spot in Idaho get Denver at Tampa Bay? I genuinely don't know that one. Southern Idaho has a little spot where it has Denver at Tampa Bay for the Fox early slate. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not great. Not happy about that. If I'm Idaho, I'm Idaho. I'm happy.
Yeah, wait. How come everyone else around me gets to watch Philadelphia at New Orleans, but I have to watch Denver at Tampa Bay?
Yeah, you got to appreciate that. I also love, like, if you look at the CBS, man, I know people are just tuning out right now. Like, yeah, I don't care. Yeah. But that's fine. This is more for us. Miami at Seattle late. It's either Miami at Seattle or Carolina at Vegas, which is just a tragedy either way. But, like, I love how somehow, like, Cleveland carves out Miami at Seattle. Instead of seeing Chargers Pittsburgh, which everyone in Cleveland cares about,
right? It's
like, guess what? You're getting Miami and Seattle. And so is Nashville for reasons I don't quite understand.
Yeah.
Woof. Yeah, not going to be in the Fox late slate. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're getting the Rams and the Niners in Des Moines. Good. I also love how Oregon's like kind of like split. Like they were like,
yeah,
they did a little like a U cut there. You're like, that's all right.
Some of you guys can see Baltimore, Dallas, but most of you will see San Francisco and LA.
Holy shit!
And then looking at this one here, going back to the CBS one of the map, I thought was interesting is if you look at Las Vegas, like there's a little bit of Arizona that's pretty darn close to Las Vegas, right? Las Vegas is pretty close to the border.
Yeah.
If you're in Arizona, you're not watching Raiders at all. Like, you do not get any Raiders. You're getting only Cardinals, you're getting only Chargers. Sorry.
If Andy Dalton beats the Raiders this week, I'm laying them to rest. I don't care if they want to.
Deal.
Yeah, they need to be put down. If they lose that game to the Panthers, it's over. I'm done.
Like the Chargers like, oh yeah, we'll take it from here, guys. Like, we'll beat the Chiefs next week. No, don't worry about it. It's like you beat the Raiders and the Panthers.
Herbert throwing for 140 yards combined. It's great.
get out of here. All right, that's what we'll do. We'll get out of here. We will talk to you guys next week on That Football Show, reacting to everything that happened around the National Football League and talking about what's going to happen in the National Football League. So for Matt Verderame, I'm Tucker Franklin. We appreciate Ben, Holiday Bottled and Bottled Bourbon, Holiday Distillery, all the folks out there. They make good stuff that I like to drink, and you should like to drink it too. That's going to do it for That Football Show. We will talk to you guys next week.